Hello again, everyone. My name is Kevin Ayers, and welcome to my video series regarding my unemployment experience. So far in this series, we have discussed a higher level overview of my unemployment brainstorming. We've considered the basic stages of loss and the concept of ambiguous loss. We talked about how meaning can be derived from your employment. Talked about creating your own story about unemployment that you share with others. We discussed the 3 suggestions I have for taking action when you feel overwhelmed. We talked about the travel path, the non-negotiables, successful rejection, vulnerability, and last week we covered passivity. If you haven't seen the other videos yet, that's okay. You don't have to watch them in order, so stay where you are, sit down, get comfortable, and check this one out. If you like it, then check out the other videos. Give me some feedback. I want to continue thanking everybody who's given me feedback, and I have been trying to apply that to my additional videos as we go, and I pray that they get better. So like I stated last week, I have a mountain of notes in my journal and topics to discuss. If you have a topic that you'd rather discuss or maybe take a deeper dive into, let me know and I can start on that first. This week's quote comes from Napoleon Hill, the author of the old book, The Law of Success. Quote, "Before success comes in any man's life, he's sure to meet with much temporary defeat, and perhaps some failures. When defeat overtakes a man, the easiest and most logical thing to do is quit. That's exactly what the majority of men do." End quote. There was so much that I had written on what I had thought would have been one topic alone for this week's video, but it grew to be quite large. So I'm breaking this video for this week into 2 different parts. I'm not saving part 2 for the beginning of the season, season 2 for next year, so you have to wait, 3-6 months to figure out what happened, to see if Frederico and Martha are going to get back together, or if Carlos and Maria survived the car crash, or what Valerie found in the top drawer of Peter's dresser. So here we go. I've spoken along the way about the personal level of accountability. Last week I spent some time talking about separating oneself from the thoughts that your station in life is strictly because of life passively happening to you. Instead, I spoke of taking ownership of one's situation, and in my example that I used, the situation has been regarding unemployment. Last week's example was taking ownership of your contribution to your station and where you find yourself in unemployment until you finally figure out that you own the whole thing in its entirety. The blame game was a big hurdle to overcome, and if you haven't quite conquered that hurdle, keep pursuing those root causes until all of it falls into your own lap. Then you will be very well prepared to move on to the next steps. Continuing along the path of personal levels of accountability, I'd like to discuss a few aspects of friendships. When it comes to creating and cultivating friendships during employment, I have some recommendations that I believe are mutually beneficial. But first, I have to make it very clear and acknowledge that in such a situation as unemployment, we find ourselves in a position of great need. Our wants are put on hold, and our needs are magnified. If you haven't determined the difference between a want and a need in your life, it's best to do it right after you finish this video. We need a job, we need money, we need support, and this support often comes through family and friends and those with whom we come into close contact. You will feel this intense drive to focus on just yourself at the exclusion of your family and friends and those who you come into contact. However, and this is a big however, in the midst of all of our great need, what we are going through is for our own good. Let me stop for a second so you can catch up with that thought. What we are going through is for our own good, if we are willing to learn from it. If you aren't willing to learn, then you are going to end up with more bitterness, anger, resentment, and frustration than when you started, without taking advantage of the distinct opportunity along the way. If you are willing to be open to learning, then you can exit the unemployment experience without quitting and becoming a much better person along the way, better equipped for life's other challenges. And this is a big and, Our suffering is mostly for the good of others. I'll stop for another second and let you catch up. Just note here that similar to realizing that your entire current situation is your own fault, these two additional mindsets, that number one, your circumstance is for your own good, and number two, it is for the good of others, is a similar paradigm shift that may hurt your brain for a while, because so much of unemployment just feels bad at the time that you are in the middle of it. So let me try to break this down slowly for my benefit and yours. As we suffer, we can learn something firsthand that we did not know and probably would not have known otherwise. As we learn, we can multiply what we have learned by teaching others. This allows us to surround ourselves with more support by telling our story, which the more storytelling, the better, and the more support you will draw in. As we continue to learn more, the more we are able to teach. As we continue to teach more, we learn more, and others we continue to teach also learn from us. The more teachable we are, the more open we are to learn and to teach others, as well as learn from and be taught by others. Our newly forming support system is then equipped to turn around and support us as well as others who also might be in great need. It is a virtual cycle of learning, teaching, sharing, and reaping the benefits of our difficult journey together. This virtual cycle repeats and gets more effective each time we apply it, and it is also in contradistinction to the downward spiral, which worsens over time. So this concludes this week's portion of my two-part video. Look for part 2 to be released shortly after it appears, that a lot of my usual viewers have had time to watch this week's video. Next time I will be breaking down the difference between the different types of friends that comprise our support system. So when this gets posted, feel free to speak your minds in the comment section down below and give me a thumbs up if you liked what you've seen. Subscribe to my channel, ring the bell so that you will be notified of new videos as they get posted. Take care everybody, and I hope to see you next time.